Love after 60. Men will beg to marry you when you do this. Marriage secret revealed.
Welcome to Wise Life After 60. So grateful to have you here. They say a man may fall in love with your smile, your kindness, even the way you make his favorite soup, but he will only beg to marry the woman who touches something far deeper in his soul, something that has nothing to do with youth, beauty, or playing the part of wife material, and everything to do with presence, that quiet, magnetic self-assurance that only time and life experience can give. I've learned through years of listening, observing, and living that love after 60 is its own kind of magic. In our golden years, the rules change. Older men dating are no longer searching for someone to make them feel young again. They're searching for someone who makes them feel fully themselves. That's why the most powerful senior love advice I can give is not about chasing, it's about becoming. In senior romance, the women who inspire a man to drop to one knee are the ones who know who they are. While younger women may still be figuring themselves out, you've already earned your wisdom. And when you share that with grace, you awaken something in him, a longing for the safety, admiration, and deep emotional connection with women that goes beyond the surface. Today, I'm sharing 5 irresistible traits that separate the women men marry from those they simply date. These are the traits that speak directly to his heart, create lasting attraction, and make him feel a sense of belonging he can't find anywhere else. Before we start, if something I share today touches your heart, I'd love for you to subscribe to Wise Life After 60, and maybe pass this along to a friend who could use a little hope in her own love story. So if you're wondering where it all begins, the first inner state might just surprise you.
Trait number 1. Stop needing him. Start making him prove himself. One of the most irresistible traits a woman can carry into her golden years is the quiet confidence to stop needing a man and instead allow him the space to prove himself to you. For many of us, this idea feels unusual at first. We were raised in a time when women were encouraged to please, to adapt, to earn a man's affection by giving more of ourselves. Yet something powerful happens when you shift from needing his approval to knowing your own worth. The entire dynamic between you changes, almost without you having to try. Men over 60, just like men at any age, are drawn to women who are whole within themselves. They may enjoy being admired, they may welcome thoughtful gestures, but deep inside, they hold a special respect for a woman who is already living a rich and satisfying life. This is not about playing hard to get or pretending to be busy. It is about truly believing that your value is not dependent on whether he calls, whether he chooses you, or whether he commits. That certainty, once it becomes part of you, begins to show in the way you move, the way you listen, and even in the way you occupy a room. I remember meeting a widow in her late 60s at a small dinner party. She told me she had been seeing a gentleman for a few months, and he had started suggesting that they move in together. She smiled as she recalled her answer to him. "I like my life as it is. Show me why it would be even better with you in it." There was no sharpness in her voice, no hidden test. It was simply the truth, spoken from a place of calm self-assurance. She knew she was already complete, and that any relationship would need to add to her life, rather than try to fill an empty space. The result was exactly what you might imagine. He became more intentional, more attentive, more eager to show her that he belonged by her side. When you live with happiness, confidence, and purpose, whether that comes from friendships, hobbies, family, or simply the joy of your own company, you begin to carry a certain grace that cannot be faked. You are no longer grasping for his attention because your joy is not dependent on it. You can love freely without clinging and give generously without fear of losing yourself. And to a man who is truly ready for senior romance, that is magnetic. It sends a clear message that you are with him because you want to be, not because you have to be. What happens next is almost effortless. When he senses that you are whole with or without him, he does not pull away. He draws closer. He wants to prove himself worthy of your time, your trust, and your heart. It is not about manipulation or clever tactics, but about the natural pull that respect and admiration create. And when that respect takes root, something interesting begins to happen. He starts to reveal a side of himself that most people never see, and it's in that space where the next irresistible trait quietly takes hold.
Trait number 2. Make him feel deeply valued for who he is. There comes a point in every connection when the world fades into the background and a man wonders if the woman beside him truly sees the person he is beyond his history, his roles, and his achievements. Many relationships never get past the surface because, while admiration is common, true recognition is rare. When you make a man feel deeply valued for who he is at his core, not for what he can offer or how he can impress you, you step into a part of his heart that almost no one else ever reaches. Men in their 60s and 70s have often spent much of their lives being acknowledged for what they do rather than who they are. They've been praised for their work, their ability to provide, and their public successes. While these things may be meaningful, they can also become a kind of armor, hiding the smaller, more tender truths of who they are. Beneath that armor are the quiet acts of kindness, the personal values, the integrity that is often overlooked. When those parts of him are noticed and appreciated, it is like a light turning on in a room he thought no one would ever enter. The ancient philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." When you listen deeply, you begin to hear more than words. You hear the essence of a person. And when you reflect back to him the qualities you've heard and felt, you are telling him, "I see you. I value you, not for the mask you show the world, but for the man you are when no one else is watching." This is the essence of real senior romance. It's not built on flattery or performance, but on a mutual recognition of what is genuine and enduring. When a man feels truly seen in this way, he naturally wants to bring more of himself into the relationship. He becomes more open, more invested, more present. You are no longer just someone he enjoys being with. You are the person he trusts with the deepest parts of himself. And that trust is powerful. It's the kind that makes him think about a future with you, not because you've persuaded him, but because you've given him something he cannot find anywhere else. So let me ask you, have you ever experienced someone valuing you so deeply for who you are that it shifted how you saw yourself? Share it in the comments. Those stories are reminders that love after 60 can touch the soul in ways youth never could. And when a man feels this kind of deep recognition, it often paves the way for something even more intimate, the unshakable sense that with you, he is truly safe to be himself.
Trait number 3. Be his emotional safe place. Have you ever had someone in your life who made you feel so safe, so accepted, that you could share the parts of yourself you had hidden for years? For many of us, that kind of space is rare, and for a man, it can be life-changing. When he finds it with you, the connection deepens in a way that nothing else can replace. This is where another irresistible trait comes in, becoming his emotional safe place. Being a safe place for someone is different from simply being pleasant company. Pleasant is easy. It smiles, it agrees, it avoids conflict. Safety is deeper. It is the quiet knowing that with you, he can lay down the weight he has carried for decades. It's the sense that he can share both his strengths and his vulnerabilities without fear of judgment or dismissal. For a man in his 60s or 70s who may have spent a lifetime being told to be strong and hold it together, this kind of acceptance is like finding an oasis after years in the desert. I remember speaking with a friend who had remarried in her early 70s. She told me about a night when her husband, a retired engineer, came home unusually quiet. Over dinner, she noticed he was distracted, almost withdrawn. Instead of pressing for answers, she simply touched his hand and said, "You don't have to tell me anything right now. Just know that I'm here." Later that evening, he told her something he had never shared with anyone, that he had been feeling uncertain about his health and was afraid of becoming a burden. She didn't rush to fix it or tell him he was being silly. She just listened and held his gaze and made sure she knew she understood. From that moment on, he began to talk to her about things he had kept locked away for years. Safety in love is not about never disagreeing. It's about knowing you can disagree and still be secure in each other's presence. It's the way you respond when he admits a mistake, the patience you show when he's frustrated, the grace you offer when he reveals a fear. These small, consistent acts tell him, "You're safe here. All of you are welcome here." The poet Rumi once wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." When a man trusts you with his wounds, he is not just giving you information. He is giving you a part of himself that most will never see. And once that trust is there, it becomes the foundation for a connection that feels unbreakable. When you are his emotional safe place, he doesn't just see you as a partner. He sees you as home. And from that sense of home, something even more inspiring can grow. A desire to match the strength and purpose he sees in your own life.
Trait number 4. Inspire him through your own purpose-driven life. A woman who wakes each day with a clear sense of purpose carries a quiet magnetism that can't be faked. You can hear it in her voice, see it in the way she moves through her day, feel it in the light in her eyes when she talks about what matters to her. For a man in the second half of life, that energy is more than attractive. It's a spark. Watching you live fully, without waiting for permission or validation, stirs something deep within him. It reminds him that life is still rich with possibility. Living with purpose doesn't have to mean chasing grand achievements or leading some public mission. It might be the peace you find in your garden, the pride you take in your craft, the joy of mentoring someone younger, or the curiosity that drives you to learn something new. What matters is that your days are fueled by something beyond the relationship, something that feeds your soul and keeps you alive inside. That kind of energy is impossible to ignore. Lao Tzu once said, "When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you." That self-contentment speaks louder than any attempt to mold yourself into what you think he wants. It tells him your happiness is not a gift he has to give you, but something you've already claimed. And paradoxically, that is what makes him want to be part of your world. Purpose changes the relationship dynamic in ways words cannot. Instead of making him the center of your world, you invite him into a life already full of meaning. The unspoken pressure that often weighs on relationships fades away, replaced by curiosity. He starts to wonder what excites you. He wants to see your world, and he feels honored when you choose to include him in it. That's the beauty of living with purpose. Without a single demand, you inspire growth. You hold up a mirror that reflects his own potential, nudging him to dust off forgotten dreams, pursue passions he once abandoned, or simply bring more intention to the moments you share. So, tell me in the comments, what passion, project, or calling lights you up right now? Whether it's something you've just begun or something you've loved for years, sharing it might be the spark someone else needs to reignite their own joy. And when your life is already full of meaning, it becomes even more powerful when you choose to share that life with someone, especially when you can love him deeply while still holding on to the truest parts of yourself.
Trait number 5. Love generously without losing yourself. I once knew a woman in her late 60s named Clara. She had the kind of smile that made you feel like you'd known her for years, even if you just met. She loved her partner with a warmth that was unmistakable. She cooked his favorite meals, left notes in his coat pocket, and even remembered the small stories from his childhood that he himself had forgotten. But here's what made her love different. She never disappeared inside it. Clara still went to her art class every Thursday, still took weekend trips with her friends, still kept the quiet mornings on her porch with a cup of tea that she had cherished long before he came along. Her partner adored her, not just because of the way she loved him, but because of the woman she continued to be while loving him. The generosity of her affection never came at the cost of her independence. She could give freely without fear because she had not handed over the core of who she was. Loving generously without losing yourself is not about withholding or keeping walls up. It's about building love on a foundation so strong that you can pour into the relationship without draining your own well. When a man feels your love and knows it comes from a place of wholeness rather than need, it becomes a love he can trust. It doesn't suffocate. It doesn't demand constant reassurance. It breathes. Clara once told me, "I want him to feel like I'm a gift in his life, not a replacement for his life." That stayed with me because it's a truth so many overlook. When you can love someone and still honor your own rhythm, passions, and identity, you teach him something about love that perhaps he's never known before. That it can be deep without being consuming. That it can be close without erasing the space where two people continue to grow as individuals. In the earlier years, many of us were taught that true love meant merging into one. That our lives, our plans, and our dreams had to be identical. But as we grow older, we see the beauty in being two complete people choosing to walk alongside each other. That choice, renewed each day, carries far more weight than dependence ever could. The novelist Antoine de Saint-Exupéry once wrote, "Love does not consist in gazing at each other, but in looking outward together in the same direction." Clara lived that way without even realizing it. Her love was strong because it had roots in her own life, and those roots made her relationship flourish. When you love this way, you become both a sanctuary and a source of inspiration. He knows your heart is his, but he also knows you belong to yourself, and that's what makes him want to hold on to you for the rest of his life.
When I think about these 5 irresistible traits, I don't see them as techniques or strategies to get a man. They're far more than that. They're ways of being
that allow you to show up as the fullest, most authentic version of yourself. And in doing so, you create the space for a love that is both deep and lasting. When you no longer need him, but allow him the chance to prove himself, you step into a place of strength that commands respect. When you make him feel deeply valued for who he is, you touch a part of his soul that very few ever reach. When you become his emotional safe place, you give him a kind of home that even the most confident man quietly longs for. When you inspire him through your own purpose-driven life, you awaken his own dreams. And when you love generously without losing yourself, you offer a love that breathes, that lives, and that lasts. Love after 60 is not about trying to recreate the romance of our youth. It's about creating something richer, wiser, and far more real. The beauty of these years is that you no longer have to pretend, compete, or chase. You've lived, you've learned, and now you can love from a place of choice, rather than need. The truth is, the right man will not just admire these qualities, he will rise to meet them. He will feel inspired to protect, cherish, and commit, not because you demanded it, but because you became the kind of woman he cannot imagine his life without. Keep your heart open, your spirit steady, and let both guide you toward the love you deserve. And if you felt a spark of recognition in these words, consider subscribing to Wise Life After 60, so we can keep exploring the truths, surprises, and quiet joys of building lasting love in our golden years.